Hello everyone, Michael here, part-time gamer, full-time dad, with a refresher too long didn't read beginner's guide for the Blood Death Knight in World of Warcraft. Quick warning before we do start, this is a basics guide and my recommendations for a new or returning player looking to get a feel for the class. As an aside to that, this guide assumes a full or near full artifact weapon and takes no legendaries into account as they're just too random. Blood tanks utilize a reactive heal via Deathstrike and a shield of bones surrounding them as their primary sources of survivability, which of course will be the focus of this guide as that's a tank's job, to survive. With that being said, let's take a look at the talents first off because these will impact your playstyle the most. So first up at level 56, you're best off going with Heartbreaker for fights with 3 or more targets, but Blood Drinker for all else. This provides you with a nice on-demand self-heal outside of Deathstrike. Bloodworms, unfortunately the RNG is just not worth using. For level 57, you're going to be rolling with Rapid Decomposition. The tick rate increase in Death and Decay isn't a huge deal, however generating more runic power definitely is. For level 58, Ossuary is your best bet. You should always have 5+ stacks of Bone Shield, so the reduced runic power means more strikes more often, increasing your survivability. Level 60 is a no-brainer with Red Thirst. Your main healing ability, which will consume runic power, and you will use frequently, reduces the cooldown on your main defensive cooldowns. Survivability at its finest, I would say. Level 75 is pretty situational. Tremble Before Me is great for Mythic Plus dungeons, whereas you will most likely get better use of Tightening Grasp in a raid environment. If a fight requires you extended movement to avoid mechanics, March of the Damned certainly has its place. Level 90 would have you picking Foul Bulwark for its synergy with Ossuary listed before. Rune Tap certainly has its use if you're experiencing lots of little bursts of damage, but Foul Bulwark is passive and easy to manage. And finally, level 100. You're best off with Purgatory. This talent will prevent your death once every 4 minutes. This of course is provided your healers can top you off afterwards. If healing is a complete non-issue, Blood Mirror is a good single target DPS boost and Bone Storm is great for AoE. And now for the stats. Your first priority is going to be Haste as it increases your rune regeneration, in turn giving you more survivability. Second up, you're going to look for Versatility, as this increases all damage and healing done and reduces all damage taken. Thirdly should be Mastery, which gives you larger absorbed shields via Mastery Blood Shield. And last up is Critical Strike. The only advantage with crit is that it increases your parry chance. The damage increase is not necessary for Blood DK. So gems. Grab yourself a Saber's Eye of Strength plus 200 in one slot and Quick Dawnlight for the plus 150 haste in your remaining slots. For your relics, you're going to want to aim for the highest eye level you can, while specifically keeping an eye out for Carrion Feast, Vein Renderer, and Dance of Darkness traits. So for your enchants, your best bet would be to go with Mark of the Heavy Hide on your neck for the armor bonus it grants, Binding of Strength on your clothes for plus 200, and Binding of Haste on your rings for plus 200. Obviously, Death Knights have the added bonus of having a weapon enchant, which you should place the Rune of Fallen Crusader on. More healing and some increased damage, well, you can't go wrong there. For your consumables, your flask should be Flask of the 10,000 Scars for the stamina, used alongside the Unbending Potion for a survivability cooldown through the armor. You can, however, sub in the Potion of Prolonged Power for some DPS and use it for pre-potting. For food, obviously the Lavish Suramar Feast is your best bet, but if you're required to bring your own food, I'd say go with the Ajari Salad for the added haste. So the Blood Death Knight, as with most tanks, doesn't really have a rotation or priority listing when it comes to their abilities. It's more of a reactionary playstyle. There are certain things, however, that you will always want to have in the back of your mind. For example, you want to ensure that your Bone Shield charges are always at 6+ and never falls off. This is very important. You maintain this via Marrow Rend. Make sure to keep your Death and Decay down for the increased runic power regeneration, provided you took the Ossuary talent, and always refresh it with a Crimson Scourge proc. If no proc occurs and it has run out or will run out soon, yes, you can manually refresh it. Use Heartstrike as your main rune consumer, while ensuring you keep an eye on whether or not you're going to need to Marrow Rend again soon. Use Consumption, this is your artifact ability, on cooldown, as the healing and damage that it does just isn't really good enough to merit waiting for the opportune moment. And finally, always make sure to have your Blood Boil charges rolling. Using this right after your Marrow Rend is necessary to apply Blood Plague at the start of the pull. This can also, however, be achieved by using Death's Caress at a distance. Now we're going to come to the bread and butter of the Blood DK, and that's Deathstrike. Deathstrike will be a huge part of your damage, but more importantly, it's your main survivability tool. It will give you health back equal to 20% of all the damage you have taken over the last 5 seconds with a minimum of 10% of your maximum health. Essentially, you want to use this every time your HP dips down to around 75% or so to help keep yourself topped off. Don't just spam it willy-nilly because you can waste a lot of the healing potential really easily. You can, however, in good conscience use it if you're about to cap your runic power. Wasted runic power regen is worse than a wasted heal. For your defensive cooldowns, we have Anti-Magic Shell, which should be used to absorb lots of incoming magic damage. Icebound Fortitude, which will reduce all damage taken by 20% for 8 seconds, which of course should be used, again in anticipation of a damage spike. Vampiric Blood, which will increase your maximum health and can be used proactively or even reactionary to large damage. And finally, provided you took the talent, Blood Drinker is used defensively before big damage, as well as channeling, you're also able to use your other defensive cooldowns. Dancing Rune Weapon is generally considered to be a DPS cooldown more so. One note here though, if you use Dancing Rune Weapon on pull, it duplicates your attacks, so if you Marrow Rend first thing or even second, you're going to potentially have full Bone Shield in one swing. A couple abilities worth quick mention however, Death Grip will pull a target to you and taunt them, this is not usually usable on bosses. Dark Command is your taunt ability. Wraith Walk is our wimpy ass movement increase, and Mind Freeze is your interrupt. This however is usually left to the DPS. And finally, Raise Ally is a nice combat res that we get. And with that, we've reached the end of this too long didn't read beginner's guide for the Blood Death Knight. If this was at all helpful, hit the like button, hit subscribe for more videos in the future, and leave a comment below letting me know what you would do differently. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.